So you've been dealing with this man and things have gotten a little rocky. There's been some bumps in the road and you're at a point where you're trying to determine, should you continue dealing with him? Should you keep trying with this man? And I'm going to make it very clear for you if you need to move forward or if it's time to let him go. My name is Stephan Labossiere, aka Stephan Speaks, back for another relationship and dating advice video for women. And we're going to be talking about how to know if you should keep trying with him. Before we begin, as always, be sure to like this video, share it, hit that notification button, and comment below. Leave me your feedback. Let me know what you're thinking. So anyways, let's talk about it. There's a lot of you, a lot of women out there. It may not be you, it may be friends, it may be family, dealing with a guy, holding on for dear life, hoping things will change, hoping things can get better, or wondering, can it get better? Not sure if you're letting go too soon, not sure how much longer you should give him, and it gets confusing, it's stressing you out, it is wearing you the hell down. And so we need to resolve that once and for all, and that's why I'm going to give you things that you need to look for when trying to evaluate if you should keep trying with him, all right? So let's get to it. So the first thing is, ask yourself, why do you even want him? You probably weren't expecting that one, right? But I need you to really go within yourself first, because a lot of times when trying to determine if you should deal with a guy or, this relationship is worth it, the woman is looking at the man, is evaluating everything from the surface, but you're missing what you need to evaluate from within first. So why do you even want him? I had a client one time who was holding on for dear life, dealing with a guy who was not stable financially, was not stable emotionally, all right? It was a very toxic relationship. And so after talking to her and her giving me the whole story, I had to ask her, why do you want this guy? Help me understand, what is it about him? And when she laid out the things, and things were like, well, essentially she felt like he wouldn't cheat on her. Things like she felt like he valued her for more than how she looked, and so on and so forth, all right? And the reality was that the desire for him in that scenario was because he was safe. She thought he was the safe choice, and that with him, she wouldn't have to go through what she went through with other men. But unfortunately, the safe choice tends to be the wrong choice. And a lot of times the safe choice can turn into a very toxic choice. And so in trying to understand why you even wanted him, we can get to the source of the problem, because her desire for him wasn't really about him and how he pours into her. It really wasn't about the quality of the relationship. It wasn't about connection. It was about the fact that I think I don't have to deal with the crap I had to deal with before. But you're dealing with new crap, new nonsense that is still breaking you down. So what are you really getting here? And the reality was also, as we continue the conversation, the reason why she wanted him was because she thought he had potential. Now, a lot of y'all have dealt with dating potential. And the unfortunate risk of this is that a lot of people don't live up to their potential. And a lot of times what you're holding on to is an imaginary figure of this person. You're holding on to what you hope they will become, but they may not even see that within themselves. And the obstacles that they're going to have to overcome to even become that person may not be something they are willing to face. And here's the crazy part. When you're dating someone and you want them because of the potential you see in them, what you don't realize is you are undermining their ability to even reach it. Because essentially, you are incentivizing their low-level self. Now, I say low-level not to be disrespectful, but just to speak reality. They are at the lower version of their self right now. They're not at, at their potential. And so essentially, if it's almost like a job hires you, and a job says, the job requires you have a master's to work here. A master's degree, but says to you, I'm going to hire you anyway. And in the meantime, you can get the master's while you're working here. All right. Now, if getting the master's is easy, then you might still get it, even though your job already hired you. But the minute getting the master's gets hard, you're going to give up on getting it. Why? Because you have the job anyway. You're already getting paid. You're already receiving the benefits. There's no incentive to get past the hard part. There's no incentive to climb past this mountain when you're already getting everything you desire anyway. So when you're with this man who you're seeing this potential, you're feeding him, you're sexing him, you're pouring into him, you're taking care of him, what is his incentive to become a better man? If becoming a better man was easy, then yes, he may still do it. But when the reality is that him becoming a better man is going to be him having to heal, that's hard as hell. I don't care who you are, man or woman, healing is not the easiest thing. Facing your past is not the easiest thing. You need to do it. I want you to do it, but it's not easy. And so a lot of people are going to stop short of pushing through the process of healing. Let's say he needs to get himself financially. Well, listen, grinding, working hard, taking initiative, especially when you're a man who has not learned how to do that already, that can be a difficult process. And again, if you are already pouring into him, if you are already giving him the benefits, where's his incentive to move past the hard part? It's gone. It's not there. So it's important for you to understand why you want him, and if it's attached to potential, if it's attached to fear, I don't want to be alone, I don't want to go through another relationship, then you're in the wrong place to begin with. We don't even have to worry about, well, all the other stuff with him and can he do this and will he fix that? Listen, the reason you even got into this relationship is because you haven't healed. The reason why you're entertaining this man who's at his lower level self is because you have not healed. You have work you need to deal within yourself. And the reality is that being with this man is distracting you from the work that you need to do. Being with this man is giving you a scapegoat to not face your issues because you get to focus on his nonsense and ignore yours. And that's very unhealthy. So please understand, when you are trying to determine if you should keep trying with this man, you gotta start with, why are you even there? Why do you even want him? Why are you even holding on to this individual? All right. And that can be applied whether you're just dating the guy or you're already in a relationship with the guy. So now the next thing, and it's kind of piggybacking off this previous point, is, do you really love him or are you just attached? So again, this is another question that starts with looking within yourself. Now, if you are just dating this guy, then it's unfair to ask you if you love him already, all right? And so this might apply more to those of you who are already in the relationship. Or maybe, yes, you may have been dating him long enough to where you can determine if it's love or attachment. Either way, let's focus on that. Is it love or is it attachment? So a lot of women have convinced themselves that they love this man, that the reason why they want to make it work is because they love him. And here's what I have learned that a lot of people do, sometimes consciously and sometimes subconsciously, okay? They use the label of love to validate and defend remaining in a toxic situation. And I always say, love does not keep you where you do not belong. So do not try to use love to defend yourself. And some people do it on purpose because they know if they have to say to their friends and family, I'm only with him because I'm afraid to be alone, they're going to tell you to leave. I'm only with him because I don't want to start all over, they're going to tell you to leave. I'm only with him because I won't even say the sex is good, because unfortunately, you say the sex is good and some people might say, okay, I understand why you're there, which is unfortunate, but that does happen. But the reality is that that woman understands that by saying, I'm with him because I love him, it makes it harder for people to now say to her, you still need to leave him. And so it's used as a scapegoat. And again, it's a trap that you're falling into by convincing yourself of this. You've got to be real with yourself and really understand what's going on here. So when you're trying to determine, well, how do I know it's love or it is an attachment? Okay, again, it kind of goes back to the first question. Why do you really want this man? What's really driving all of this? Now, here's another example. I had a different client where she came to me and she was going through all kinds of problems with her man. And I'm like, all right, she gave me the whole rundown. And I said, okay, she said she loves him. And I said, well, why do you love him? And she gave me all this list of reasons. And when she was done with the list, I said, do you realize that everything on that list is what you do for him? What the hell does he do for you? And she went silent. She did not know what to say for like a good minute. And she was like, damn, you're right. He doesn't do anything for me. And so when you cannot even point to how this person pours into your life or what positive impact they have on your life, how can you now say to me this is about love? When all you can point to is underlying things, or again, all that you do for him. Or if you're honest with yourself, when it's really about fear, as I mentioned multiple times, fear of being alone, fear of starting over, fear of my biological clock is ticking and I need to find somebody. Fear of my family is giving me pressure to be in a relationship. Fear of all my friends are getting married. I need to hurry up. There's so many different things that contribute to the fear or the anxiousness or the desire to attach yourself to someone who really isn't best for you. And then again, then to tell people it's love because you're trying to fight, you're trying to create a validation for staying there and trying to hold on to it. All right? But you've got to be real with yourself. Is it love or is it attachment? And so attachment is going to be about the fear. Attachment is going to be about the potential that doesn't even exist right now. It's what you're hoping it becomes. The attachment is going to be about just other underlying issues, but not really about two people who have a connection. And that's the thing. If it's real love, there'll be a connection there. If it's real love, it'll be two people pouring into each other. If it's real love, it's two people who can be themselves with each other. And if that does not exist within the dynamic, then you cannot tell me it's real love. But I get it. It's easy to confuse these other things with love, but this is what you have to take a step back and understand, because again, if you are able to determine that what you have here is not genuine love, then we don't even have to get to the part of what he is doing or not doing. Those first two questions I put out for you are the foundation to understanding, should you even bother trying with this man? Is this man even for you to begin with? Because if he's not, then it doesn't matter. Hell, I don't care if he even is doing all these great things. If the underlying issues are there, if at the end of the day this is about attachment and not love, then I cannot encourage you to remain in that relationship. So you gotta be willing to really evaluate that stuff about yourself and what's going on within you before we turn the focus onto him. But I'm gonna now give you the next step that's about him, okay? Actually, forgive me. The next step isn't about him yet. It's one more about you. It's one more. Follow me. But before I give you that next one, real quick, get your copy of The Man God Has For You. Best-selling book. Women are loving it. You can click the link in the description or the comment section below. You're going to love it. It's an amazing book. But let's get to the next one. The next step in determining if you should keep trying with this man is, have you fully expressed yourself to him? All right. So I'm a firm believer that you have to address the issues before you are quick to cut someone off or before you attempt to walk away from the situation. It is best to discuss things or to communicate things. Now, when I say discuss or communicate, communication can be non-verbally. And what I mean by that is you can write a letter to express yourself. And personally, I'm a firm believer that writing a letter is actually way more effective than trying to talk verbally, at least initially, to get everything out. It allows you to make sure you get everything on the table. It allows you to make sure your tone is right. It allows you to make sure that you're conveying the message in the most effective manner possible. It also allows the receiver of the message more time to process. It it allows them to read, not to rebuttal. Because when we're talking to each other, sometimes people are listening to rebuttal. But when they're reading a letter, it's allowing them to soak it in. It allows them to, it can marinate, so to speak. You know what I'm saying? And they can really now consider what's being said more fully. And then after the letter, there can be a verbal discussion that is now, with the foundation of the letter, setting the stage for how the discussion will go. So I do think that you have to consider, all right, have I expressed myself to him? And the reality is that if you are going to express yourself verbally, it's not, well, you had an argument with him. It's not that you lashed out at him. Those don't count as having fully expressed yourself. You have to be able to say you fully expressed yourself in a calm and loving manner. Because the reality is that anytime someone feels attacked, they're going to get defensive. Anytime someone feels like you're coming at them the wrong way, it's going to be harder for them to receive your message or even process your message. So if we're trying to really evaluate if we can give this person a chance, if you can move forward with this man, then you've got to make sure you've expressed yourself in the most effective manner possible, and that is in a calm and loving manner. Now, when you can say you've done that, all right, now we can consider the next steps that are about him on if you can move forward or not. So now the next step, which now shifts the focus onto the man, is he making an effort and is he making progress? All right. So let's cover it. You've already evaluated that, okay, you believe this is the guy for you, that you are there for genuine good reasons, that there is love here, all right? You've also fully expressed yourself to this man. Okay, great. So we've covered the bases. Now it's about, is he even trying? The reality is that some of you have been in or are in a relationship where you have done these things, where you have expressed yourself fully, and this man is dismissing you. He's calling you crazy. He is dancing around the issue. He's turning the tables on you. He's making it about anything else but him. He's taking no accountability. And therefore, he's making no effort. And therefore, there is no progress. So why the hell would you continue? And I've seen some of you try to still drag along. Try to still make it work. But you can't make it work if you're working by yourself. You can't make it work if this man is not embracing what needs to be improved upon in the relationship. So it's important that, yes, after you've covered the bases, you've got to evaluate. Now listen, I did not say he needs to be perfect tomorrow. He's not going to get it all right. Depending on what the issue is, some things may take some time for him to really get the habit of, really get in a groove of it. But that's why it's about effort and progress. And you've got to make sure, though, and here's something that's very important, and I have to say even more important if you are married, because I've seen this happen so many times. Let's just paint the picture. You're dealing with this man, and let's say for a while he's been acting real messed up. And what you determine to be messed up is up to you, all right? But he's done some things that you weren't happy with for a while. And let's just say you didn't always fully express yourself, or you did, but it may have been arguments, lashing out. It may not have been that calm, loving approach. Anyways, there's been a time frame of unhealthy behaviors that have now created some toxic energy, all right? So now you two are trying to work on things and trying to see if we can make it better. And what I've seen for a lot of women is, all right, now that we're working on it, it's because he's been the one messing up, or because he's been the one in your eyes doing the unhealthy things, you want to take a wait and see approach of him being consistent with the good action before you're willing to pour back into him. So let's just say at this point, you're not as intimate with him anymore. Or at this point, you're not as sweet to him anymore. But in your mind, it's like, well, I'm justified because he's been acting all funky this whole time. So it's on him now to get it right before I can trust that I can now open my heart back up to him. But that is an approach that's going to shoot you in the foot. That will derail any progress. That will derail or devalue his efforts. That will cause him to be frustrated, and you will not be able to truly see if you guys can now make it past this issue and have a better relationship. So it's important that after you have fully expressed yourself, that you are also making the efforts with him to be better, all right? And I'm going to get a little bit more into that in a further point, but just understand that while evaluating his effort, while evaluating the progress, you've got to be meeting his energy. You got to be making sure that you're pouring into him during that time as well, and not just sitting back and evaluating, because that's only going to undermine the whole situation. So now, the next thing, and I kind of, it should have been before the previous one, but it's a little out of order, but just work with me here. So the next thing to consider is the issue fixable? All right? So the reality is that when people come to me, when couples come to me, when singles come to me, whoever, and they come for coaching, and we're dealing with somebody, and we're trying to determine, can this be fixed? We have to really ask ourselves, okay, how correctable is this? Is this issue a symptom of who this person is, or simply a symptom of a misunderstanding between you two? All right. So, for example, let's just say he's a homebody. This may be a very small example, but just work with me here. He's a homebody. He doesn't like going out. All right. But you're very extroverted. You love going out. You want to be able to enjoy yourself. And you talk about the issue with him, all right? And he says to you, well, this is how I am. I just don't care for going out. That's not my thing. That's not really fixable. Now, I will say that, and maybe this was a bad example, because I do think it's possible for an introverted person or someone who's a homebody to become more willing to, or to make an effort to go out more. But I do think that once someone says to you, this is who I am, all right, basically, I have no intentions of changing, then there's nothing that can be fixed there. And if that issue is that important to you, because to some people, that may not be a big deal. That may be something that they can deal with, and they'll just supplement the desire to go out with going out with other individuals. But for some of you, it may be a big deal. And you have to ask yourself, am I willing to deal with this for years to come? Not can I deal with this for next month or this whole year. Can I deal with this for years to come? But let's go further than that, all right? Let's say, for some reason, I'm drawing blanks with examples right now. So let me not even use an example. Let me just make the point that you've got to dig deeper to figure out if the situation is correctable or a symptom of you two are just two different people, all right? You two don't see things the same. And that's why it's important to have deep, in-depth conversations to understand, what are our values? Do we share the same values? Do we come from different backgrounds that don't allow us, or are we not flexible enough to be willing to embrace each other's differences, so to speak? All right? But also understand, you know what? One example just popped in my head. Y'all may not like this example, but I'm going to give it anyway, okay? Let's just say you got yourself in a situation where you're not attracted to the guy. Now, some of you might be saying, well, why the hell would anybody be with someone they're not attracted to? Listen, it happens all the time. All the time, all right? So let's say you're with someone you're not attracted to them. And again, sometimes, and we can go even deeper in this, sometimes the attraction is fixable. Meaning, okay, if they change their style, if they, I don't know, just worked out a little bit, it might help. But in some scenarios, it's just not there. There's nothing that can be done. It can't be fixed. And again, you have to ask yourself, am I willing to be in a relationship where the attraction is not there? Can I still give my best and pour into this person, be as intimate with them, be as respectful to them, be as loving and sweet to them when I'm not attracted to them? And so if you realize you can't handle that, and again, you realize that with this individual, there's not much they can do to fix that, then there's no point in trying anymore. All right? Now, again, that may not have been the greatest example, but the principle remains the same. Certain things are fixable. And yes, part of it being fixable is the willingness from that person to fix it. And that's why it goes back to discussing these things, laying it out on the table. But if someone is telling you, this is who I am, if someone is telling you, I don't want to do that, if someone is telling you, I am not willing to make this change, then there's nothing you can fix there. And at that point, you've got to let him go, because to continue trying with him is only going to drain you and destroy you in the process. And now the next point, and we got one more after this, all right? The next point, and I kind of alluded to it earlier, is have you done your part? So going back to you and having to take that look in the mirror, it's important that if you're going to determine if you should keep trying with a guy, you first ask yourself, have I put my best foot forward? Have I been the woman I need to be in this situation? Have I held myself to the same standards I'm trying to hold him to? So essentially it's like, okay, if you're saying, well, he's not open with me enough, have you been open with him? If you're saying, well, he's not showing me the respect that I deserve, all right, have you also showed him the respect that he deserves? Now listen, it doesn't excuse their bad behavior, so to speak. It doesn't mean they don't still need to tighten up. It just means that it's kind of unfair to determine if someone is worth your time and say, well, they're doing this, they're doing that, when you are not doing what you're supposed to do. And a lot of times, if you're not doing what you're supposed to do, you're contributing to why they may not even be giving you back in return what you're looking for, what you need. All right? So you've got to make sure, okay, am I being my best self? Am I being what I need? If I'm going to sit there and say this man has issues, perfect example. I remember one time I was on tour and we were doing the Q&A, and a woman came up and she asked, how do I get my man to go to counseling? He has some issues he needs to heal from, and I can't seem to get him to counseling. And I said, okay, well, let me ask you a question. Have you gone to counseling? And she's like, no. I said, so wait a minute. So you're telling this man he needs to go get his issues fixed. He needs to heal. He needs to do this. But you haven't faced your issues. You haven't healed yourself. You haven't shown the willingness to go to counseling. How does that work? And you're not going to encourage him or anyone to go when you can't go for yourself. So again, you've got to make sure you are doing your part. You got to make sure you are bringing your best self to the table if you're going to demand their best self. It's only reasonable. It's only fair. And if you, for whatever reason, have not brought your best self or feel like you are not able to bring your best self to the table, then yes, you may need to step away from this relationship. Not necessarily because he's the wrong guy or he's a bad guy, but because you are not ready to have a healthy relationship yet. And you need to take a step back. And I would encourage you that if that applies to you, that you do so in a manner that says to him what's going on. You be clear with him about you recognizing, okay, I have some things I need to work on. I'm not truly emotionally healthy enough to be the woman I need to be for you or for any man, all right? And so I'm taking a step back, not in a way that says the door is closed, but simply in a way that says right now is not the time. But then, again, don't just take that step back and go hide in the corner. Go actually work on yourself. Do the things you need to do so that you can either be ready to come back and reconcile things with this specific man if he is the one for you, or you will now be equipped to receive the man who is and have a healthy relationship moving forward. And now the last thing I'm going to mention, and of course this is another one that doesn't apply to everybody, but it will apply probably to most of you guys who watch my videos. And that's simply, have you talked to God about this? So again, if you're going to ask the question, how should you know if you should keep trying with this man? I'm going to tell you, if you are a believer, go ask God. Like, yes, I'm giving you all these reasons. I'm laying out some things to look out for. And I do think these are things to consider. But I also believe that at the end of the day, as a believer, you've got to go back to God and ask him. You've got to get into the habit of seeking God's input in your relationships. And a lot of times, we don't always see what we need to see for various reasons, all right? And we don't always understand the bigger picture at hand because we're caught up in the moment, we're caught up in our emotions. And so taking a step back, going into prayer, talking to God, and when I say talking to God and seeking God's input. I don't mean asking God, hey, if this isn't for me, just make it go away. Or, hey, God, you do this. Or, God, you do that. No. Asking God what you need to do. Asking God, do I belong here? Should I keep trying with this man? Is this the man for me? And then learning to listen to what you're hearing in your spirit. Which also, let me just add, learning to trust your intuition. Because for many of you, you knew he wasn't it from day one. Your intuition been told you to get the hell up out of here. But you rationalized past that because, again, maybe you didn't want to be alone. Maybe you didn't want to start all over. Whatever the reason is, you found a way to keep moving forward despite the fact that your intuition, your spirit, God, is telling you otherwise. And I know it can be hard. I know it can be difficult. Listen, I believe we've all heard him. But a lot of times we don't like what we hear, okay? And when we don't like what we hear, we won't always do what we're supposed to do. And again, I'm never going to judge you because I get it. It happens. But I have to encourage you to be strong and to hold true to what your intuition, your spirit, what God is telling you, and to get into the habit of prayer. And I have to add, for those of you who are saying, well, I prayed and I'm not getting an answer. I don't know what God's trying to tell me. Listen, consider a fast. I know that sounds extreme for some of you, but fasting is a great way to connect deeper with the Spirit, to hear God more clearly, to gain the clarity that you need. So consider it, look into it, do some research on fasting. But I'm telling you, it has helped me immensely, and I know many others it has helped. So I do think it's a great tool for you to use, but just make sure one way or another, you don't ignore that intuition, and you learn to talk to God when you're trying to determine if this is a guy you need to keep trying with. Hey, thank you for watching this video. Be sure to check this one out right here, and I'll see you there. Listen, you deserve a man who loves you, respects you, and cherishes you. Do not settle for less. So please understand, if he does any of the things I'm going to mention in this video, it is time to let him go.